Hey, folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to a very special edition of the Watchman Newscast live stream. We are joined by our very good friend today, folks, the one and only Yair Pinto is here with us live on the Watchman. Yair, great to see you, my friend. Of course, Yair heads up the TBN Israel channel. Folks, go over and subscribe right now. It's at TBN Israel, absolutely cutting edge work on the ground in the land of Israel. Yair and the team doing incredible work for such a time as this. But we're kind of fortunate today because he's in the building with me here in Texas.
Yeah.
Yair, great to see you, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me on the show, and thanks for this, lovely introduction. I'm gonna send this intro to all my family members, and especially to my wife, so that she'll see it.
If you need the agent, I'm your man.
Thanks so much. Yeah, and it's great to be here in Dallas. I actually had to extend my stay in the United States because all the airliners canceled their flights to Israel because of the Iranian threats of escalation, of something bigger than they ever did before. So this is the situation. The entire world is on standby waiting for this Iranian attack against Israel. So I got to spend a little more time here in the United States. And I believe God had a plan for that, so I can be here on this show and share more about what's happening in Israel and how to pray.
Amen. God's timing, and he knows what he's doing. He's going ahead of you, Yair, on this trip for sure. And I think the word you used was very appropriate. The world is on standby. Yair, I think that's a great way to put it. Look, over 2 weeks now since Ismail Haniyeh was eliminated in Tehran under the noses of the mullahs. Fuad Shukr also eliminated, of course, in Beirut. And the world has been waiting with this kind of sense of dread for, okay, when is the Iranian axis going to attack? Here's some interesting news there, Yair. I want to get your reaction on this. This is in the Jerusalem Post, just reading this straight off my phone, folks. Quoting the J-Post, quoting a report today in a Kuwaiti newspaper called Al Jarida. But look, in the Arab world, an Arabic language newspaper, here's what they're saying about why we haven't perhaps seen this Iranian-led attack yet. Iran's call for restraint after recent assassinations has angered Hezbollah, Hamas, and other allies, causing a heated rift in Tehran. Now, again, this is according to this Kuwaiti paper. Iran has angered its allies, particularly Hezbollah and Hamas, because it's urging caution in responding to Israel after the deaths of Fuad Shukr and Ismail Haniyeh. There was a report, again, this is reportedly from this Kuwaiti Daily, but I think it's noteworthy, that's why we're mentioning it, that the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, that elite IRGC, was meeting with the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, those various Iraqi Shia militias, all together meeting in Iran on Sunday, just over the weekend. According to sources, the IRGC is urging its allies, the Proxies, the Ring of Fire, to hold off on retaliation until at least the conclusion of hostage negotiations in Gaza, which end tomorrow, by the way, folks. However, Iran's allies, again, this is reportedly, felt that the timing was ideal right now to launch an all-out assault on Israel, essentially activating that entire ring of fire right now. And the Iranian delegation said no, and there was shouting and screaming reportedly in this meeting between Iran and the Proxies. And the Hamas representative reportedly demanded that, okay, Ismail Haniyeh was assassinated. We demand that Bibi Netanyahu be taken out. This is what Hamas is saying.
Well,
it was apparently a heated meeting, but we weren't flies on the wall in the room, obviously, Yair. But what do you make of that? Do you think there is a possibility? Because, look, we have seen this delay. We've been hearing, you've been reporting this, I've been reporting this, 24 to 48 hours, the attack is going to come, and yet it hasn't come. Could
2 weeks, yeah.
Go ahead.
2 weeks later, yeah. 2 weeks
later.
later, and the attack didn't come yet. And let me just break down what you said, I think. Okay, so you say that all these proxies are angry with Iran for not responding harshly to this assassination. So let's break it down, okay? So you have Hamas, okay? Hamas has been fighting an all-out war with Israel basically since October 7, when they launched an attack and murdered civilians and Israelis. And Israel and the IDF has been dismantling and completely destroying all of their military structure. So Hamas is now a small guerrilla organization in the Gaza Strip compared to what they were before, which was a state-sponsored terror entity in the Gaza Strip. They had everything: underground networks, tunnels, RPGs, anti-tank missiles, explosions, divisions, command structure. All of that was reduced in 10 months of intense fighting by the IDF in the Gaza Strip. What they have now is a guerrilla organization that is launching sporadic attacks against IDF troops. This is the situation. So they believe that unless the whole axis of evil, meaning Iran, Hezbollah, the Houthis, launch a combined attack against Israel, they're about to lose this war completely, and they are afraid. So it makes sense that they will be pressuring Iran to launch this attack now, because they hoped that Iran would join them at the attack on October 7th, but they didn't. Okay, yeah. That's one element of this. Second element is Hezbollah. Okay, Hezbollah has been launching attacks and blows with Israel since October 8th, one day after Hamas launched an attack. And every time the situation escalates until Hezbollah launched an attack and murdered 12 Israeli children in the north of Israel. Then Israel responded by eliminating their chief of staff, Faoud Shukar, when you just said. And this attack, this assassination happened in the heart of Lebanon, in Beirut. Okay, so they are afraid. All the leadership are afraid because Israel can reach them wherever they want. And they think that in order to prevent an Israeli retaliation, an Israeli invasion into Lebanon that will completely destroy Hezbollah, like it did Hamas, they think we need help. We need to launch an attack and annihilate Israel together. So that is why they are pressuring Iran. On top of that, they have internal pressure. The Lebanese people are saying Israel is on our economy because of you, because the terrorist organizations are taking over our country. So they are struggling internally and militarily because Israel is eliminating all of their command structure in Lebanon. Okay, so these are the two major partners. And then the Houthis, of course, are also under attack, and they want to destroy Israel because, you know, they are also under attack by Israel, by the United States, and everybody in this region. So they were prepared for this day and eager to launch an attack. And Iran, on the other hand, is taking a step backwards. And there are a few reasons for that. Maybe we'll go into that soon.
Hold that thought. Great points all around, Yair. Great points. I want to ask you why? Okay, Hezbollah and Hamas, as you just laid out so eloquently, they're gung-ho. They want it now. They want to attack now. Iran perhaps pulling back. I want to ask you about that in a minute. Hold that thought, Yair, real quick before we get into it. Folks, just a quick shout out to our sponsor for today's newscast, our good friends at Magen Adom. Now, all the time on the channel here, people are commenting, asking, saying, hey, how can I help Israel during the time of Israel's greatest need right now? Well, folks, Magen Adom is the perfect way to do it. Check them out, SaveLivesIsrael.com. That's SaveLivesIsrael.com. Here's a little bit about what Magen Adom does, by the way. They are Israel's emergency medical system. 35,000 paramedics, EMTs, and first responders. They answer every single emergency medical call in Israel, everyone, and they dispatch every ambulance, and they also maintain Israel's blood supply. So when there's, God forbid, a terror attack in Israel, Magen Adom, their ambulances, time and time again, they are the first on the scene, literally doing God's work. Unbelievable. At least 30 paramedics and EMTs have been killed since October 7th, and 17 ambulances destroyed. This is what Magen Adom is doing. They're going bravely, and it's a largely volunteer force going bravely into the belly of the beast onto the front lines and helping Israel's most needy. You're most needy, obviously, when you're targeted by a terror attack. Magen Adom is there on the front lines, fulfilling that biblical mandate. Hey, you want to fulfill that biblical mandate? Genesis 12:3, bless Israel, support Magen Adom. SaveLivesIsrael.com. We are proud to stand with them here on the Watchman. Yair, you know their work very well too, Magen Adom in Israel. Ambulances, they're everywhere.
Yeah, definitely, Eric. And also on October 7th, when Hamas terrorists launched an attack against the Nova Music Festival, the ambulances came there immediately. And the terrorists launched attack against the ambulances, burning the ambulances, launching RPG rockets at the ambulances. Okay, we're talking about Hamas. This is a terrorist organization. It's targeting ambulances and medical care teams, as well as civilians, just so everybody will know. But these ambulances and Magen David Adom volunteers keep coming to everywhere that they're called. And they treat Jewish people, Arab people, and basically anyone who needs help without, any distinction. So they're a really good group in Israel that help on a physical and a practical way the Jewish people and the people of Israel in this conflict.
That's right. Well said, folks. SaveLivesIsrael.com. Awesome organization, Magen David Adom. Okay, number one, at TBN Israel. Head over, subscribe right now to Yair's incredible channel. Well over 800,000 subscribers there right now for such a time as this. But Yair, we left it a minute ago with, okay, why has Iran not attacked yet? Why is Iran, according to some of these reports, maybe slowing their roll a bit in their attack against Israel? We know what the proxies want, but Iran's slowing things down. What's your take?
Well, I think that the equation kind of changed because until now, it was Iran fighting against Israel through its proxies. So the Israeli response was always against the proxies, either in Lebanon, in Iraq, in Syria, in Yemen against the Houthis. And this time it's different because this time Israel assassinated the Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. And according to foreign reports, the Mossad, the Israeli secret agency, used the Islamic Revolutionary Guards to conduct this assassination. Okay, so first of all, Iran is afraid because their own people were infiltrated by Israeli spies, again, according to foreign reports. Okay, so that's a big one. So they need to look internally into what's happening within their own ranks. Okay, they're afraid. They have something that they didn't deal with and didn't expect will happen. That's one. Second of all, this time, Israel is saying, okay, if you, Iran, attack us, we will attack you directly. We will target your facilities. We will target your water dams, target your ports. We will target your oil refineries. Basically, Israel is threatening an all-out war and that the gloves will be lifted out and taking back Iran into kind of the Stone Age, if you talk about economy. And to give this in a perspective, Iran has a new president that promised the Iranian people a better economic situation. Okay, so if Iran launches this attack against Israel, it will send them at least 20 years backwards in terms of the economic situation, which is very, very bad at the moment. So they have internal issues discussing this. And I think that the thing that they are afraid of the most is their precious nuclear program. They have been investing everything into developing a nuclear bomb that they will be able to threaten or use against Israel, against America. Just remember, America, according to Iran, is the big Satan and Israel is the small Satan. So they need bigger bombs to fight this war, and that's what they're trying to get.
Yeah, Israel is the first line of defense for the West. People need to keep that in mind, including the United States. Do you think Iran, okay, maybe, as you said, getting cold feet a little bit for obvious reasons, which you just laid out, Yair, but do you think they feel pressure to do something? And if they don't do something, is that a blow to their street cred, so to speak, in the Muslim world?
Yes, for sure. Okay, so they threatened, outspoken, the leaders said that they will respond strongly that the attack that they launched against Israel on April of this year, which included around 300 ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, drones towards Israel. And you remember what happened then. I mean, I think that's a miracle that 99% of all of these attacks were intercepted by Israel and its allies.
Yes.
So first of all, they said they need to do something stronger than that. So that's a big thing to declare. It's very hard in the Middle East to back down from a threat. Makes you look very weak in front of your population, especially if you're a tyrant and you control your people with fear. And that's what happens in Iran and in all these regimes other than Israel in this region, by the way. Okay, so this is the situation. But it was very important, I think, that you mentioned pressure from Arab states and other, Muslim countries in this region. So also the Muslim countries that are allied with the West and are forming this anti-Iran coalition are stepping in. So we have Jordan, we have Egypt, we have other moderate Arab states that are saying to Iran, we will not let you use our airspace to attack Israel. Any missile or any drone or any plane that will fly above us, we will take it down. And this time, according to reports, they're taking it further. This time they're saying, if you launch missiles above us, we will not hesitate to attack you back. Okay, it will be a violation of our internal security. So this is another escalation and another threat, not just from America, not just from the United States, not just from Britain, France, our normal allies, meaning Israel. This is also a threat from the Arab nations of this region. Okay, so this is very interesting, and we are still on standby to see what's going on, but this is the situation.
That's stunning. You're talking there. I mean, if the more moderate Sunni Arab nations, Yair, get directly involved here and they say, hey, you violated our airspace, Iran and Iran proxy, so we have every right to strike back. Wow. Then you're truly looking at a regional war potentially. If they get put, that's fascinating. I'm sure that message has been delivered to the Iranian regime as well. You mentioned too, we talked last week, you were here, we had you on Stakelbeck tonight. By the way, folks, our nightly show on TBN, if you like the newscast here on YouTube, you'll love our nightly broadcast TV show on TBN every night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time with a re-air at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. And Yair is a regular contributor to the show. But you mentioned last week when we talked, Yair, that because I asked, man, Israel's been sitting now for 2 weeks. Why doesn't Israel strike preemptively? I think there's some reasons for that. I think a lot of that's international pressure, U.S. pressure, perhaps. But you did make the point last week that your sources on the ground are telling you in Israel that, I mean, as soon as if Iran pulls the trigger, Israel is going to respond with overwhelming force. Do you still see it that way? That Israel, look, April 13th, which you mentioned, Israel's response was limited, I would say, in the wake of that. But it seems like this time the gloves would be off.
Yes. Listen, the people of Israel are on standby for so long and in this war for so long on the defensive. We're always reacting. Yeah. We're always responding appropriately, using appropriate force, all these terminology that don't make any sense in wars. Yeah. Okay, we are attacked. We cannot afford to lose. It's our lives. We cannot measure proportionate stuff when we're fighting 7 different fronts and hundreds millions more people than what we have in Israel. Okay, so this time we said enough. And this is well coordinated with our allies, with the United States. And the plan is that this time, once Iran launches even one missile towards Israel, then Israel has a bank of targets that will cripple Iran, not just militarily, but also economically. Okay, so this time we have also the physical backing of the United States, because we see all these aircraft carriers moving into the region. Yeah. We see missile-carrying submarines coming in the region, and all these military presence is a show of force, but they also have the actual capability of intercepting missiles and launching an attack on the other side. And this is where everything becomes very interesting. If only Israel will respond, or will our allies also join in a response attack? And this is still unclear, and we don't have any official reports on that. But one thing I can tell you from the past 2 weeks is that Iranian proxies have launched attacks against United States personnel and military bases in this region. So this is not just a war between Israel and Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, Palestinian terrorist groups, and the Houthis. The United States are under attack in the Middle East. And it's important to let the American people know that. Okay, this war does not involve only Israel. By the way, there are 2 American hostages being kept in the Gaza Strip. I think it's important that the United States will support Israel in this effort to bring them back and also defend the American troops and the only democracy in this region. Okay? America is moving all these military forces that have the ability to defend and to attack. And I think that the situation here becomes more volatile for Iran, and they see it. And that's why they are holding up and waiting, considering.
Yeah, I think this is a great point, Yair. You and I were talking off camera. Look, I mean, there have been dozens upon dozens of attacks against U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria, including today, by the way. Iranian proxies launched a rocket at a U.S. base in Syria. Thankfully, that attack wasn't successful, but we've seen U.S. servicemen and women killed in these Iranian proxy attacks in Syria and Iraq. And one thing you and I were talking about off camera as well before we came on was, okay, we've got the warships, U.S. warships in the region. We have a submarine steaming towards the region. We've got an aircraft carrier heading there as well. But is there teeth behind it? And what I mean by that is the Biden administration seen as weak in the region, needless to say, and I've talked about it a bunch here in the newscast. It's a show of force, no doubt. But do you think the Biden administration would actually say, okay, we're going to strike Iran? Would they actually mobilize those assets and use them, or they just kind of for show and for intimidation purposes?
Well, it seems like that it goes together with the political situation in the United States. Okay, so we have election coming up, and the Democrats need to be seen as strong in facing Iran, in facing other countries outside of the United States. And by launching an attack against Iran, they can prove to their voters, the American people, that they are also capable of being strong in the international arena and not just in America or dealing just with internal domestic issues. So I think that in that area, a response can be good for the Democratic Party and for Biden because of the upcoming election. That's one reason. And I think that they are preparing the ground for that because, I mean, U.S. bases were attacked before this month that we've seen.
Yeah.
And now we are hearing more about these reports of attacks, making headlines in the media in the United States and in Israel. So it kind of feels like it's preparing the ground for an American direct involvement in this conflict and not just supporting Israel, because American troops are being harmed, so the United States can get involved directly, not just through Israel. Okay, so this is the situation. Plus, Israel just received the aid money to buy additional weapons from the United States. So there is this backing, and the partnership militarily is very strong. And we have prospect of American weapons supporting us for the next even 10 years. So this is the plan. More planes, more shells, more stuff that we need to defend ourselves against future enemies.
Very interesting take. Joe Biden, obviously seen by many here in the U.S. and around the world as, let's just say, feeble. And Kamala Harris, who seems to be his heir apparent, is not seen as serious, I don't think, when it comes to national security. So, yeah, for them to try and establish some national security credibility, you could perhaps see them be a little more willing to get involved in something now with the election coming up. It's going to be fascinating to watch. We're also watching the north of Israel, a place you've spent a lot of time. You've done some great on-the-ground reporting from the north many times along the Israel-Lebanon border, Yair. Do you get the sense that, look, evacuees right now are protesting, they're angry with the government? Do you get the sense that there has to be an end date here? It's been about 10 months now since the people of the north have been largely evacuated from their homes. Large sections of the north are a ghost town right now. There's got to be an end game here, it seems like. This can't go on much longer. It's not good for the psyche of the people of Israel. It's terrible for the economy to have an entire region of the country shut down. Is your sense that the situation in the north is going to have to be dealt with one way or the other sooner rather than later?
Yes, the situation cannot go on, Eric. We have an entire region of Israel, which, by the way, Israel is a tiny country. So imagine an entire chunk of our super small country is basically uninhabited because of daily rockets attack by Hezbollah. Every day since the October 8th, they fired between, I don't know, 10 and now it's up to 30 rockets into Israel. Houses destroyed. They fire a sniper fire from Lebanon into Israel. Anti-tank missiles, they use it to fire against houses. And of course, against the military that on the north. This is the situation. And we have more than 20,000 Israelis from the north that are evacuees and basically refugees in our own country. Where they're staying in hotels. Who's paying for that? The government, us, the people of Israel, so that they can keep on living. And this has been going on for 10 months. And there is no end plan. There is no estimated date for when they can return home because of the situation, because we don't know. And this is the feeling. The feeling is that there is no plan for the north. And I hope that the leadership of Israel do have an actual plan to have the Israelis get back there and live there safely. But at the moment, there is no way for them to come back and live safely in their houses in the northern part of Israel, and the entire border with Lebanon, which includes multiple Israeli communities, is evacuated and empty. I've seen it with my eyes. It's like driving in a zombie movie, apocalyptic end of the world movies, you know.
Me too. I was there in February, Yair, with you, and I haven't been back since February. I'll be back soon, God willing. But you're up there frequently, and it's only gotten worse since I was in Israel in February 2024 up north. Do you get the sense? And by the way, folks, if you're just joining us, we're live with our good friend, the one and only Yair Pinto of TBN Israel. His channel here on YouTube at TBN Israel. Head over there and subscribe right now. He's also our TBN Israel correspondent on everything we're doing here at TBN, including the Stakelbeck Tonight Show. But Yair, do you get the sense that perhaps, and there's been so many conflicting reports over the past 2 weeks, that Hezbollah may strike first? If indeed Iran, has this retaliatory attack, what they say is retaliating for the death of Haniyeh and Fuad Shukr, could Hezbollah perhaps lead the charge in that onslaught? Could Hezbollah fire first?
Yes. Well, first of all, let me make it clear. Hezbollah is firing rockets and drones at Israel every day. Every day. It's not like they're not doing it. They're doing it. But the question is if they'll take it to the next level, and they have the ability and the rocket arsenal of 15,000 rockets, some very precise, some with a long range capability, and some that just can make enormous amount of damage without, being aimed very well. So they have the ability to cause severe damage to Israel, but they know that Israel will have to respond severely and basically completely crush them together with Lebanon, because we will have to go deep into Lebanon and destroy all the terrorist infrastructure of Hezbollah and all the leadership of Hezbollah that, like Hamas, are terrorists, and they hide amongst the civilians. This is who we are fighting. All of these terror elements do not care about the civilian population. All they care about is destroying Israel, and they get their funding from Iran and their military, intelligence and education and skills from Iran. So on the one hand, they know that if they attack, it will be basically their deathbed. And on the other hand, they have to respond to the assassination of their chief of staff. So they're not backing down on rhetoric. They keep saying that we will attack severely. So despite Iran slowing down on their, threats and plans of attacking Israel, Hezbollah is actually stepping up. So maybe this is all a plan by Iran to carry a strong attack through Hezbollah, and then, Lebanon will pay the price instead of Iran. So that might be the situation there. But it's very important to understand Hezbollah is fighting Israel with rockets, with drones, with snipers, with anti-tank missiles on a daily basis, every day, and Israel is responding every day
Yeah.
since October 8th. So that's 10 months.
Yeah, you made the point earlier too that Iran suddenly now they've almost painted themselves in the corner because they would always rely, they'd act and strike through proxy. Now all of a sudden they're striking directly. Before they could say, "Hey, we didn't do it." Plausible, I'd call it implausible deniability. We didn't do it. But now they're striking directly. So Israel's going to say, you know what? We're going to strike you directly, Iran. We're not just going to hit back against your proxies. We're going to take it right to you, to the head of the snake. So Iran has put after April 13th, Iran put themselves out there in that regard. Hey, I want to ask you real quick, a place you spent a lot of time in months previous, Gaza, reports that Yahya Sinwar, who's now the overall leader of Hamas in the wake of the death of Ismail Haniyeh, he's been tough to get in touch with, according to some Hamas leaders and officials. You mentioned this earlier in the live stream, but real quick, Yair, you see Hamas basically on its last legs right now, and Sinwar may be living on borrowed time.
Well, yes, definitely. Every day, the IDF is destroying more infrastructure of Hamas in the Gaza Strip. More tunnels are destroyed every day. So when the IDF moved into Rafah and captured that terror hub of Hamas, it completely cut off the oxygen pipeline of Hamas receiving more weapons from Egypt. Between the border of the Gaza Strip and Egypt, there are dozens of terror tunnels that Hamas was smuggling weapons during this war, getting more personnel, more weapons, more ammunition, more supplies for them to keep going and basically fueling this war. And now Israel is controlling that area and destroying more and more tunnels and terrorists every day. So now Hamas has no more means to receive new weapons and carry this war. So that's one area. They have less ammunition to keep fighting. The other one is that Israel is targeting with tactical raids, meaning we are searching for the leaders only and trying not to hurt the civilians in the Gaza Strip, and taking out a terrorist every day, less terrorists. So Hamas does not have experienced terrorists as they used to before October 7th. So it's harder for them to command this group of terrorists in the Gaza Strip. And on the other hand, they are afraid because we're closing in on them. So Yahya Sinwar is hiding somewhere in a tunnel or somewhere amongst civilians, and I am sure surrounded by the living Israeli hostages all around him, because he needs human shields to protect him. So every time some terrorist is popping out of a terror tunnel, the IDF is taking him out every day. So it's getting hard for him to send message to his negotiations teams in Qatar and basically to manage all of this negotiations attempt, and he tries to command Hamas, because Yahya Sinwar was sleeping in hotels in Qatar, in Tehran, traveling the world, raising money, raising support, causing trouble for Israel and for the world outside of the Gaza Strip, while Yahya Sinwar is under daily fears for his life in the Gaza Strip. So it's very hard. And I've been to Gaza. I mean, if you're in a tunnel, it's very hard to communicate. You don't have sunlight everywhere. I mean, you're afraid that you go to breathe air and IDF, either sniper or drone, will catch you, watch you, and annihilate you. So that's the situation. It's very hard to run an organization like that.
And we saw your great reports, obviously, throughout the months from Gaza on the ground. You were a spokesman for the IDF, for the Israel Defense Forces area as well. Folks, again, at TBN Israel, head over right now, subscribe to Yair's channel, number one. And Yair, number two, in closing here, simple question: how can we pray for you, and how can we pray for Israel right now?
Well, I think, first of all, thank you for praying for me and for Israel and for the Jewish people during these times. And I think that, first of all, the most important thing that you can do and help us in this war is sharing the truth. Okay, so Erick Stakelbeck here is doing an amazing job for so long to share what is happening in Israel with the world. And it's not just an Israel problem. It's an international problem, and especially for people who believe in Jesus. because this is not just a physical war. This is a spiritual war between good and evil. And the enemy does not want Israel to survive, because Israel is a symbol of God's faithfulness to his word, to his covenant with the Jewish people. And because of that, it's a symbol of hope that every one of you back at home, wherever you are. Okay, so this is not just a war for us, this is a spiritual war, and we need all the help we can get in fighting the spiritual war. And how do you fight a spiritual war? You pray. Okay, so I encourage you guys to pick a hostage, one hostage, and pray for him and his family. Make it personal. Okay, you can pray for a specific person you know that is in the United States military and stationed in this region or was sent here. Pray for him personally. Make everything personal. Okay, if you want to pray for me, I really appreciate it. I have a wife and 3 babies, and we're gonna head back to Israel like next week. That's the closest flight that we were able to find to get back to our homeland. My children and all the children of Israel are about to start the 1st grade. They're about to start school again, while being in standby and fears of this Iranian attack. So let's pray for the children of Israel to have a good school year, that they can learn, that they can hope for a better future, a future of peace. And we know that peace will only come through Jesus, through the Prince of Peace. So I would say, let's focus our prayers of Israel during this time, and let's make it personal. Find something personal and pray for the peace of Jerusalem. So I hope that was good, Eric.
Oh, that was more than good. Well said, my friend, as always, folks. Yair Pinto, the one and only, our dear friend Yair. Thank you so much for all that you're doing. Stay safe. I'll see you shortly. God bless you. We'll have you back again very soon, Yair Pinto. And folks, thanks for joining us. Remember, at TBN Israel, head over, subscribe to Yair's great channel. Thanks so much for joining us here today on the Watchman Newscast live stream for Yair Pinto. I'm Erick Stakelbeck. Until next time, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.